Support for this podcast comes from the St. Alphonsus Neuroscience Institute, offering technology to provide treatment for neurological, neurosurgical, and neurointerventional conditions. This includes a dedicated neurotrauma ICU for critical care of the brain or spine and a 24/7 stroke team. More at stalphonsus.org.
Since Boise State Public Radio was founded, students have been an integral part of day-to-day operations. We're proud of those who contribute to what we do every day.
My name is Monica Esquivel, and I'm a newsroom intern. With the guidance of award-winning reporters, I get to learn the ropes of working in public media.
On March 4th and 5th, help us connect across campus and through our community. You can fund our student programs with your gift on Bronco Giving Day. Learn more and support at boisestatepublicradio.org.
From Boise State Public Radio, this is The Connector, Idaho's daily news. Good morning. I'm George Prentice. Now that they're not producing any more pennies, what are Idaho retailers supposed to do? Plus, we'll tell you about a new program that is, swear to God, this is what it's called, Keep Boise Cool. It is Tuesday, the 3rd of March. Here we go with today's stories. The Idaho Senate voted to cut the state's current year budget by more than $130 million on Monday. That, they say, to head off a projected budget deficit. James Dawson tells us more.
Republican lawmakers here typically like cutting budgets, especially in an election year. This $131.3 million cut includes the governor's 3% holdbacks last year. But some say it goes too far. Republican Senator Trig Burnt says the Joint Finance and Appropriations Committee should have been more strategic with their plan.
It's easy to just add 1% onto the top and call it good. However, it's tough to take a scalpel and dig deep and figure out which budgets really need to be cut.
JFAC members like Republican Senator Cody Galloway defended the bill. She says taking a, quote, very dramatic approach is the only way to balance the budget this year.
There is no way that you can take a scalpel effectively to 100 budgets with 100 people that have to agree on that.
Idaho has more than $1.5 billion in its rainy day accounts. The bill now goes to the House. James Dawson, Boise State Public Radio News.
At the Capitol, a new bill concerning foster children and the criteria used on how and where those children should be placed. Here's a proposal from GOP Representative Tanya Burgoyne from Pocatello, who says that foster children should stay in the school that they were in before they were placed in foster care.
And being placed in foster care can be a time of trauma and upheaval for the student. So we wanted to help pass some legislation that would make this a smooth transition for the child and for the family.
But Idaho Code says that a child should be placed in the least restrictive environment, and one of the highest priorities would be a placement with an appropriate relative. But time and again, relatives might live in a different school district. And Democrat Representative Megan Egbert had a question, given that she has served as a court-appointed advocate for Idaho foster children. And here was her interaction yesterday with the sponsor.
And that's always the preference, right? Is I think that's been found to also be the least disruptive, is if a child can go with somebody they know. So I'm just wondering how this would interplay with that.
Can I get back to you at the full hearing if we have one?
And then there was the question of the expense to the state, if it was required to keep them in their original school, but place them with relatives who may be a good distance away. Ultimately, the House Health and Welfare Committee said the matter should have a full public hearing. Ever since the federal government stopped producing pennies, a growing number of Idaho retailers and their customers are concerned about making change. On Monday, a measure surfaced at the Idaho State House on just that concern. Here is GOP Senator Doug Ricks from Madison County.
As you know, the Treasury stopped minting the penny back in November of last year. And as supply starts to diminish and some retailers and merchants will not have pennies, and this just provides good industry guidance on it. I worked with the Idaho retailers on this. This is most of their language. And the AG's office made some recommendations.
So here's the recommendation. The keyword is may. Merchants may follow this logic. If the final digit of the amount is 1, 2, 6, or 7, the amount shall be rounded down to the nearest multiple of 5 cents. So if it's 1 or 2 cents, it goes down to the lower multiple of 5, which would go down to that 10-cent level. If it's 6 or 7 cents, it goes down to 5 cents. Now, if the final digit of the amount is 3, 4, 8, or 9, then it's rounded up to the nearest multiple of 5 cents. So if it's 3 or 4 cents, it goes up to 5 cents. If it's 8 or 9 cents, it goes up to the 10-cent level. Senate State Affairs yesterday agreed to move the bill to a full public hearing. We've been reporting for several years now about the City of Boise's climate action goals. Perhaps the one that most people know of is the goal for city government to be carbon neutral by 2035, and for the community as a whole to be carbon neutral by 2050. What many people may not know too much about is something actually we're going to learn more about by the end of this week, something called Keep Boise Cool, an individualized climate plan for, well, an individual.
The first thing you'll see when you get to the website is you'll be able to make an individualized climate action plan. So that'll be based on some demographic questions. Are you a renter? Are you a student? Do you live with your family? Do you drive a car? And so based on those types of questions, it will come out with a personalized action plan. So
this is Alex Rooks with the Climate Action Division at the city, giving the Public Works Commission a sneak peek late last year.
And then the other part of the individualized action plan is that we will be providing resources. So say it says, change your light bulbs to LEDs. Here's a link on how to do that. And so not just giving a list of actions and saying, all right, you got it, but then providing additional resources to actually enable those actions.
So Boise City Council will get a briefing on this afternoon at 4:30. Then later this week, a grand launch where we will all learn how we can get our own individualized climate action plan. And that is today's episode of The Connector. I'm George Prentice. So what do we need to know about the U.S. and Israeli attacks on Iran and the escalating crisis? We're keeping you up to date on your radio and at BoiseStatePublicRadio.org and the Boise State Public Radio app. In the meantime, be safe. I'll see you here Wednesday. And thanks for listening.
Hi, it's Terry Gross, host of Fresh Air. Hey, take a break from the 24-hour news cycle with us and listen to long-form interviews with your favorite authors, actors, filmmakers, comedians, and musicians, the people making the art that nourishes us and speaks to our times. So listen to the Fresh Air podcast from NPR and WHYY.